Going on, chat? Went to go climb with the boy Sunny. Shout out Sunny. I had a good time. Also hang out with the girlies today, just this late. But I have a couple more pages to go to then go on to chapter 4. Without further ado, let's get into it. Finishing out the story of Mr. Schwab and the story or the conversation that he had with JP Morgan. Now, certain economic historians have professed the belief that from the beginning to the end of the drama, the stage was set by Andrew Carnegie. That the dinner, the famous speech, the Sunday night conference between Schwab and the Money King were events arranged by the canny Scott. The truth is exactly the opposite. When Schwab was called in to consummate the deal, he didn't even know whether the little boss, as Andrew was called, would so much as listen to an offer to sell, particularly to a group of men whom Andrew regarded as being endowed with something less than wholeness. But Schwab did take into the conference with him in his own handwriting 6 sheets of copper plate figures representing to his mind the physical worth and the potential earning capacity of every steel company he regarded as an essential star in the new metal firmament. 4 men pondered over these figures all night. The chief, of course, was Morgan, steadfast in his belief in the divine right of money. With him was his aristocratic partner, Robert Bacon, a scholar and a gentleman. The third was John W. Gates, whom Morgan scorned as a gambler and used as a tool. The fourth was Schwab, who knew more about the processes of making and stealing steel than any whole group of men then living. Throughout the conference, the Pittsburgh figures were never questioned. If he said a company is worth so much, then it was worth that much and no more. He was insistent, too, upon including the combination only those concerns he nominated. He had conceived a cooperation in which there would be no duplication, not even to satisfy the greed of friends who wanted to unload their companies upon the broad Morgan shoulders. Thus, he left out by design a number of the larger concerns upon which the Hallrusses and the carpenters of Wall Street had cast hungry eyes. When dawn came, Morgan rose and strengthened his back. Only one question remained. "Do you think you can persuade Andrew Carnegie to sell?" he asked. "I can try," said Schwab. "If you can get him to sell, I will underwrite the matter," said Morgan. "So far, so good. What would Carnegie sell? How much would he demand?" Schwab thought. "About 320 million. What would he take payment in? Common or preferred stocks, bonds, cash? Nobody could raise $1/3 billion in cash." There was a golf game in January on the frost-cracking heath of the St. Andrews Links in Westchester, with Andrew doubled up in sweaters against the cold, and Charlie taking volubly as usual to keep his spirits up. But no word of business was mentioned until the pair sat down in the cozy warmth of the Carnegie cottage hard by. Then, with the same passiveness that had hypnotized 80 millionaires at the University Club, Schwab poured out the glittering promises of retirement and comfort, of untold millions to satisfy the old man's social prices. Carnegie capitulated, wrote a figure on a slit of paper, handed it to Schwab, and said, "All right, that's what we'll sell for." The figure was approximately 400 million and was reached by taking the 320 million mentioned by Schwab as a basic figure and adding to it 800 million to represent the increased capital value over the previous 2 years. Later, on the deck of a transatlantic inner, the Scotsman said ruefully, So Morgan, I wish I had asked you for 100 million more. If you had asked for it, you would have gotten it, Morgan told him cheerfully. The 30-year-old Schwab had his reward. He was named president of the new corporation and remained in control until 1930. The dramatic story of big business was included in this book because it is a perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. I imagine some readers will question the statement that a mere intangible desire can be converted into its physical equivalent. Doubtless, some will say you cannot convert nothing into something. The answer is in the story of the United States Steel, the giant organization who created in the mind of one man the plan by which the organization was provided with the steel mills that gave it financial stability was created in the mind of the same man. His faith, his desire, his imagination, his positions were the real ingredients that went into United States Steel. The steel mills and mechanical equipment required by the corporation after it had been brought into legal existence was incidental. But careful analysis will disclose the fact that the appraised value of the properties acquired by the corporation increased in value by an estimated $600 million by the mere transaction that consolidated them under one management. In other words, Charles M. Schwab's idea plus the faith which he conveyed it to the minds of J.P. Morgan and the others was marketed for a profit of approximately a $600 million, not an insufficient sum for a single idea. What happened to some of the people who took their share of the millions of dollars of profit made by this transaction is a matter with which we are not now concerned. The important feature of the astounding achievement is that it serves as unquestionable evidence of the soundness of the philosophy described in this book. Moreover, the practicality of the philosophy has been established by the fact that the United States Steel Corporation prospered. It became one of the richest and most powerful corporations in America, employing thousands of people, developing new users for steel, and opening new markets, thus proving that the $600 million in profit which the Schwab idea produced was earned. Riches began in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Faith removes a limitation. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with life for whatever it is that you ask as your price for having passed this way. Remember also that the man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at the time. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's man's Friday until he gave birth to his famous idea. After that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. Now for another example of how faith in an idea made millions for one man and thought it helped out countless others increase their wealth. Sir John Templeton is a man with great faith in his talent to make sound and profitable investments. Templeton was better than most people at investing money because people often made investments based on emotion and ignorance and not common sense. He felt that by using his skill in investing, he could not only provide a needed service to the small investor, but made a good deal of money for himself as well. To accomplish this, he started a group of mutual funds to manage other people's money. This was a pioneer project, as the mutual funds were a relatively new concept at the time. Templeton honed that concept into what it is today. He reminisced at the Templeton Growth Fund's first annual meeting. The participants consisted of John Templeton, one part-time employee and one shareholder. We held the meeting in the dining room of a retired General Foods executive to save money. The Templeton's funds now have more than 6,000 employees worldwide and $36 billion in assets, driving the growth. That growth is the Templeton Growth's well-earned reputation as a pioneer fund group for investing. A $10,000 investment in the Templeton Growth Fund 40 years ago is worth $33 million today. but by the time he retired and sold his Templeton Group fund interest in 1992, estimated at 400 million, John Templeton estimated he had helped 1 million people make money in addition to his own success. There are no limitations to the mind of except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. I don't know. I don't know if I really have much to say other than it's pretty cool antidote that was being shared about Charles Schwab and how he was able to profit by using his imagination and his vision on a specific deal. I'd be curious to know and research a little bit more if it was a win-win deal comparing back to what we had read on the previous book. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's really much to say. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and yeah, see ya.